What's up, guys? And if you just heard that noise, yes, that's me opening a can, because I'm really going to need it for this video. Give me a sec. Okay. The Kansas City Royals. As you guys may know, I live about an hour and a half away from Kansas City. I have grown up around Kansas City sports basically my entire life. I've grown up around the Chiefs. Luckily for me, I can see how that's turned out for me recently. But I did have to go through the years of which the Chiefs sucked and were super just terrible. I wouldn't even say underperforming, because at that time they didn't really have like big expectations, felt like. And I know for this team, for this Kansas City Royals team, there's no expectations. But holy fuck, it's straight up that picture of our expectations were low, but holy shit. That is what the Kansas City Royals are. And I'm going to keep the screenshot of John Sherman up, so his quote, a little bit longer. But I'm so sick of this fucking guy. He comes up, like, every fucking time he comes up, I want to, like, grab the side of his head and be like, sell the team, just shake him. Sell the team. Because I can't stand this guy anymore. I don't even know where to start. And I haven't made a video like this in a while. I just watched the Royals lose like 9-3 today to the Dodgers, and that's to be expected. The Dodgers are a good team, but I don't think I can take an entire season of this. I'm ready for football to start so bad. Like, I will watch fucking. Like, I need an XFL league to just pop up out of fucking nowhere. I think USFL is about to end. So I'm, like, double McFucked both ways right now. It's so bad. And it starts with ownership. And that's why I'm going to go ham on John Sherman. And then I'll trickle down the fucking lineup. But John Sherman has got to be the most, like, brain-dead owner, other than the Oakland Athletics owner. He only cares about money, too. But, God, John. Let me just explain real quick before I just lose my mind. I need to get back on track. That's what I'm basically trying to say. John Sherman, around spring, there's been kind of an idea of getting a new Royal Stadium. I think the original idea came out last year, the year before, kind of. It was like spreading around, oh, this might be an idea, this might be a plan or something. Well, it really didn't get vocal, it seemed like, till this year, around spring training, and maybe a little bit before. And John Sherman wants to build a new Kansas City Royals Stadium in downtown Kansas City. And then there were also talks about the Chiefs moving to Kansas, but that's a whole different thing. We're talking about the Royals right now. But this was a whole thing that has been talked about for a little bit among Royals fans. Then John Sherman comes out and says he wants the taxpayers to, foot the bill for the new stadium. And as some may assume, some might not know, that caused a huge outrage in Kansas City. Now, like I said, I only live an hour and a half away. I wouldn't have to deal with it. My dad, he lives around there, so he would have to deal with it. But it's so, like, that is the worst idea I think I've ever heard. Right now, he's putting a team that is 22 and 53, I think. I don't have the stats in front of me. I probably should. Um, he he wants to. His thought process behind this is, if we get a new stadium, we'll get more revenue because more people will want to come. He's saying that the K's not fun anymore. Blah 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 going on. It's not the stadium. It is the product of which you are putting on the field. We've had many opportunities to have good players in our organization. Hell, we had one good one last year, or 2 years ago, kind of. Or no, it was last year, I think. Andrew Benintendi. He won a Gold Glove. I'm pretty sure he was with us for one whole year, for that Gold Glove year. And then we traded him away to the Yankees, which is to be expected. But like we've had like one good player. And it's always felt like that. Like we've only had ever one good player, and there's no feeling that he wants to, invest in the team. He wants to invest in the idea of the team, or he wants to invest in everything outside of the team. There's no real money that really wants to go in this team except into terrible players. Like for example, the Royals just paid a 2-year contract this past offseason to Jordan Lyles. He's making $17 million. And he just got his first win a week ago. We are in fucking actually, as I'm recording this right now, we are in fucking July. And he just got his first win. I think he was like 0-10. His ERA is, I'm pretty sure, through the roof. I'll have to pull it up right here real quick. Yes, a 6.68 ERA with a 1-11 win-loss record. Terrible. I mean, just terrible. And everyone, I don't understand. Like, that's where we're putting our money. Is Jordan Lyles right now. Salvador Perez makes a decent chunk of our payroll right now. Which, honestly, right now, of how Salvador Perez is performing, that shouldn't be the case. And that's a whole different thing that I'll get into later when I talk about the players. But when we fired our last GM, and I can't think of his name because I just want to forget it, and I never want to get that guy's name back in my head again because it was awful then too. But now we have JJ Piccolo, and it feels like we're kind of running in the same circle a little bit. I mean, Piccolo is making a little bit of better moves, but I mean, we'll really have to see at the draft what he decides to do, and that I feel like will really kind of tell us as a fan base how he kind of runs things based on the last GM. But like, when it comes to ownership, John Sherman is the last guy I want to own this team right now. It is so terrible. And the fact that he thinks that moving the Royals is going to help bring in more fans, that's not the case. No fan wants to watch this team right now. I don't even want to watch this team, and I love the Royals. I love the players on there, but I find it hard to even watch them. I'll get 2 innings into the game, and I'll turn it off. I'll turn the game off. Like, I'll pop back in a couple times, but I can't. I can't watch it. It's so unbearable. And I think for any real Royals fans, they would agree with me. It's so bad. And when I go to watch the games in person, it's as bad. There were a couple games I watched were actually entertaining, but I went to opening day. Instead of actually watching the game, I just sat and talked to my friend Gabe the entire time. Like, if I was there by myself, I would have probably just left. It was boring. It's terrible. It's not exciting. It's it would be more interesting if the team actually was competitive, but they're not. And that's just kind of where we're at this point. And that kind of brings me up to managing. Now, Quatero, or however the fuck you say his name, I just call him Matt Q. Or Dipshit. Usually people know who I'm talking about. Has made some of the worst dog shit lineups, and I understand he's not been dealt a good hand. But there was a whole month where Bobby Witt Jr. was leading off, and he kept doing it. Every fucking game was Bobby Witt Jr. leading off, except unless if he got an off day. And I think it took like all the fucking fans commenting in the Twitter comments, hey, maybe we should try someone else leading off. And it didn't really even feel like until there was a lot more people saying that they finally started putting different people up. I think it was like they had Nick Prado, and then MJ Melendez was there for a little bit, like 2 weeks. I think he was the leadoff hitter, but you know they finally started putting in like different people. And now they just start putting Bobby Witt Jr. back in the lineup, or you know, the starting leadoff spot. Which he didn't really do good tonight in the leadoff spot. I think they still need to find someone else. I honestly think that they should stick with Maikel Garcia. If I had it my way, at least towards the beginning of the season, I would have had Vinny leading off. Vinny Pasquantino was our best average hitter. Like, he got on base at least every game. I mean, it was kind of rare when he didn't. Yeah, every time he's batting fourth, third, and I understand there's an importance batting third or fourth, but you kind of want your leadoff guy to fucking get on base. Like, Bobby would be a good second hole spot, or 2-hole spot, or something. I don't think he needs to be further down the lineup, like 5 or 6, but like, it doesn't take a goddamn genius to figure this out. And here we are in fucking July. We're borderline the worst team in baseball. Like, we are in a race right now with the Oakland Athletics, who all their fans just, like, are super upset. And I don't blame them, because that's a whole different thing and a whole different scenario going on in Oakland. But like, they hardly have fans showing up to the game, and when they do, it's in reverse boycott of the fucking team. And we still have, like, Royals fans showing up. Like, Sherman's acting like it's I mean, it is kind of a ghost town, but that's because the team sucks. If anyone, you know, remembers the Royals when they were going to the playoffs, the postseason, in the 2014 and the 2015 years when they were making it deep, and they were getting to World Series, there was no seat that was fucking empty in any of those games. I remember my dad and I went to a couple games in 2015. I think it was like a Monday afternoon or something, like a work day. And the fucking stadium's about filled. There's like 24,000 people in there. And like a 32 or 30,000 something capacity stadium. I mean, that's fucking impressive for, like, a Monday afternoon. So, it's not just, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, John Sherman bought this team in 2019. It's felt like for fucking ever. But he never dealt with a winning team. Like, pretty sure ever since he's bought the Royals, they have not had any winning seasons. So it's not where the stadium's at. And I think Arrowhead kind of shows that out perfectly. Like, in 2012, you couldn't fucking give... My dad had season tickets to the Chiefs. He couldn't give those fuckers away if he wanted to. But now look at fucking almost every game, the stadium's about full over at Arrowhead. Because they've got a contending team over there. So, I don't know what the fuck John Sherman's thinking. But, ridiculous, and I kind of circled back around to him after I was talking about Matt Q. I mean, there's only so much you can do, and I'm not defending him. I'd be the last fucking person defending this guy, but God, he makes some weird lineups, just some shitty lineups. and he kind of leaves guys in just a little too long, and that was kind of my gripe against Matheny, was he left guys in a little too long, and I know that was also fucking Cal Eldred, which I don't miss that guy at all either, but Sweeney, I haven't really, like, the pitching is bad this year, but like I've seen some improvement, so I can't really dog on Sweeney too much. I think we really need to see kind of what the younger guys will look like when they get up. I mean, we saw Alec Marsh tonight. It was just MLB starting against the Dodgers, so I can't really say much because I mean that'd be kind of rough if I had to think about it. But yeah. Anyway, kind of moving down the chain here. I want to circle to the players and then maybe how to try and get this team back to a mediocre state at least or something. But the trade deadline's coming up, and we kind of already seen what might be in store for the Royals this trading season. Before the trade deadline, we've already traded Aroldis Chapman for a 25-year-old left-hand pitcher, and a 17-year-old outfielder, who's in the Dominican Summer League right now. Now, I'm not too impressed by the move, but I'm not gonna dog on it either. It's not terrible, but it's not great. There's some promise, but there's no certainty. And I guess that's kind of be expected. I mean, you're giving away a year or half a year of Aroldis Chapman. Actually, not even a half, like 3/4-ish, maybe a little bit less than that. But so I can't really I think we couldn't have gotten a lot of more value than that. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to tell. But people say, at least in the Royals fan base, from what I've seen so far, there have been people that said no one's untouchable, and I feel like that's not completely true. Unless if you're offering us like the top 50 prospects for some of these guys, then okay, I can see it. But for me, my untouchables, I think, is going to be kind of the core for the next Royals team. And that, honestly, in my opinion, would be Vinny Pasquantino, who is a pretty average to above average, fielder. He does have a pretty good glove at first. He's not fast, but he's also like 6'3" or he's not fast, but if you've seen him run, it's a little goofy. I love Vinny, but I don't know what it is. When I see him round the bases, it makes me crack up a little bit. But he's a really good hitter. Like, he knows how to get the ball in gaps. I think he's batting 300 before he got injured. I mean, he was like the first month he was batting 300. I think like almost 400. For like the first couple weeks, but that's also to be expected at the start of the season. So I think Vinny should definitely be kind of a staple of this team, going forward to the future. Bobby Witt Jr., obviously, for me at least, and you could call it favoritism, I don't care. I think he should be an untouchable. I know his defense isn't great yet, but you have to keep in mind, this guy is like only a year or two older than me. Like, I'm 21, he's like 23, I think. Or 22, maybe. He's still younger. Like, he's still young. He has 23 stolen bases. I think above 10 home runs right now. Like, his average is a little low than I'd like, but he's not doing terrible. It's just when he's put in tough positions, like I was talking about earlier with being, put in the leadoff spot. I don't think that's right for him just yet. Like, you'd have to get his average up a little bit more for me to put him in a leadoff spot. I think a third would be MJ Melendez. Now, I know right now his approach is not where everyone would like it. He's not doing great, but like, he has probably one of the biggest upsides, outside of maybe Nick Pratto. I could really see the potential in MJ Melendez. He can play a lot of places a catcher can't play. And I think that's what people forget, is that originally this guy was a catcher. which I think he should be doing more of. Which kind of brings me to my next point. He's not really an untouchable, but I kind of wanted to touch on this because JJ Piccolo has already came out and said, yes, he's kind of, we're not trading him. So, to JJ Piccolo, he is untouchable. And that is Salvador Perez. Now, I love Salvi. And Salvi has been a staple of the Kansas City Royals since he's come to town and debuted. But really, what kind of cemented him in Kansas City was the World Series MVP. Now, if I know if I said this to other Royals fans out loud, I'd get put on a cross. But Salvi right now is not a great defender and not a great hitter. Ever since he's gotten injured, he chases so many pitches. And his strikeout percentage has to be high, his whiff percentage has to be high. Like, I've been watching him for like the past 2 weeks. There'll be pitches like a foot outside of the zone and he still swings at it. And it looks out of the zone even coming out of the pitcher's hand. And he still swings at it. And I don't know what it is, but it's bad right now. It's terrible. His defense isn't great right now. We kind of saw that a little bit more with the Cleveland game. Jose Ramirez stole home. And I know it wasn't completely on him. Like, Chapman has a really long wind-up. But Salvi still could have got Jose out at the plate, but he didn't. It was a real close play, but I think, honestly, in my opinion, if you had Freddie Fermin or MJ Melendez behind the dish, I think he could have got Jose Ramirez out there on that play. And talking about MJ Melendez, I think he needs to be the catcher going forward and stick Salvi at DH. So, moving on, I think the final really untouchable should be Nick Pratto. Now, I know Vinny would probably be playing first base kind of in this aspect, but you can't forget that Nick Pratto can also play outfield. So, have him, out there at left field, maybe right field. And you can, find out the rest of your field with your other players. It kind of depends on who you have left, especially after the trade deadline. So, which is kind of another thing I wanted to talk about here. Now, let me get one quick drink. To the star of my Royals. So when it comes to the trade deadline, I think some players that could have some value that probably should go. And I kind of got a little list here. Nicky Lopez. Now, I don't think Nicky Lopez should go, but I think his value, I think we could get some prospects out of him, and you could sell him as a really good glove and an average hitter. Scott Barlow, he has blown a couple games, I think 2, but he's still a really good reliever at this point. Actually closer, but depending on what team you send him to, probably a relief pitcher to kind of a setup pitcher. Moving forward, I can't trade Salvador Perez, which I think he might have been a target for some teams at the trade deadline, but JJ has already come out and said that he will not trade him, and that Salvi will stay in Kansas City. So I think even when Salvador Perez's contract runs out, which I think is another year or two, JJ will probably re-up him if he wants to stay playing. Alright, another infielder that I think could get traded, Maikel Garcia. One of the younger guys, but he's been playing really good, and he has, so I think, some pretty good value for any team that's a little bit younger, but also, has a chance to the playoffs. Example, maybe the Reds. Or I think the Marlins could be a good fit too. It's not out of character for the Royals to kind of send a younger, solid defender and pretty good bat. Um, to teams like that, like a third baseman. Emmanuel Rivera is kind of one that sticks out in my mind. We sent him to the Diamondbacks. So I think that's a real possibility. I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see Garcia traded. I'd honestly be more shocked if he didn't get traded than anything else. Pitching wise, I mean, no one's safe in my opinion. If we can get anything, any prospect for some of the pitchers we have, except maybe Brady Singer, then I'm all for it. Like I mentioned earlier, Scott Barlow. I think Amir Garrett, I don't think really has any value right now, but he could, have a chance to up his value the next couple month or the next month, or a couple weeks. But yeah, I think Amir Garrett could be a person to watch. Maybe go at the trade deadline if he can start racking up more strikeouts and stay off the IL. He just got off the IL, so I think that could be a possibility. And I think the last one, Kyle Isbell. Before he got injured, he had like a hamstring strain or something like that. He was solid hitter, but mostly known for his defensive play. And the person that kind of like makes me think of that and is Harrison Bader. When I think of Harrison Bader, I think of a good defender and or a really good defender and then an average bat. I think that's kind of like what Kyle Isbell is right now. So maybe sending Kyle Isbell to someone who needs a bench outfielder or maybe just a average center fielder to kind of shore up their defense. I think that could be a real possibility. So yeah, that's kind of where I think the Royals should stand when it comes to the trade deadline. Obviously this year, younger team, but just seems very disappointing. Not just like where the team is, more of like where I think the players should be. I really thought we'd see a jump in some progression from some of the players. Example, MJ Melendez. I thought his stats would more jump off the page than anything, but right now it's been a little disappointing. But I think we still have another half of the season to go, so a lot left to prove for some of these young Royals. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to jump on here and talk about the state of the Royals and what direction they should go in. One big direction I think they should go in is somehow getting John Sherman to sell the team, because this is the definition of a shit show. I see a lot of people on Twitter, oh, John Sherman's doing the right thing, blah blah blah. And I mean, this video could be an hour long for me ranting about John Sherman, but to kind of save everyone the trouble, I'm just gonna not do that. I think I'm gonna end the video here. So yeah, as a lifelong Royals fan, this is kind of where I would like to see my team go. Obviously, not all these things are gonna happen. Shit, I mean, none of these things might happen. I could be looking at this in 3 years, and Matt Cotero or whatever the fuck could still be the manager and putting the Royals in a playoff spot. And I could be like, man, look at how wrong I was. Or I could be looking at this and be like, man, I'm talking about Bobby Wood Jr. being untouchable, and here he is, probably traded or something. I hope that's not the case, but knowing the Royals, anything's possible. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't really make a lot of these, so I hope you enjoyed me rambling on about how much I hate my hometown team. I'll see you guys in a different video. Peace.